Writing is a hunger for return. If I cannot have you, then I'll have you gone here on my plate. No, not this time. I'm not writing in hunger for return. From now on, I'm going to photograph myself naked. Whatever I can cram inside the photo booth on my MacBook, a document, me aging. My knee hollow, a varicose vein and Frankenstein stitches tag my left thigh, and my skin is a shimmering consciousness. We all want our sex and we want to eat it too. This is all about you. He wore a Hawaiian shirt the day I met him on the Bosphorus, and he held my hand all night on the bus. Close, I said, and he said yes. I was thinking of abandonment. This is the pause, the anxious space you begin to recognise. And well, it is my hand and I could take it away in very quiet English. At the edge of Galibaloo, on the white sheets of my birthday, we wrote a birthday letter, and it wasn't in French. Chanakale ichinde, we can't speak and you blame it on the raki. Zikudia, we drink lion's milk. Remember the code. Never dump someone on their birthday, because that would wreck the fish dinner they just bought you. Lying in bed with our raki, we read about something else. Women in their tame 40s, investigating washing machines and sex in mid-cycle, or the lingerie in Paris, but something is missing. I tell you about a wildlife documentary, about penguins who exchanged rocks for sex, and you can laugh because you were having sex and eating it too, and it was all about you. You neglected to mention Byzantium, art accepted as artifice, and bodies not subject to decay or death, and stretch marks, 1, 2, 3, artfully placed on the diagonal, my hips into tiny tributaries, rick-rack stitches up my left thigh, and stretch marks are shirring where bone gives in to breast. In Izmir, you want me to accept my tea, black with sugar and lemon, copper glasses with delicate handles, reverberating in tiny saucers. Outside a protest gathers in Izmir, what used to be Smyrna, where riot shields and police wait in quiet Turkish around corners. I point out the humanity here in this cafe. I can't say it right, but the waitress gets that it's all about milk, and we watch, tongueless, as she boils it to skim and tips it into a tumbler of boiling black tea. She just wanted to give me more than you think I deserve. It's not my birthday anymore. I tell you about Tashkent airport and how lonely, a bowl of rice inside a Russian palace, and black ghost women in the dawn breaking, eyes behind black mesh lace. I could not see their eyes, or their night shift into day shifting, and all the turbaned men cast asleep on marble stairs, and why I got so lonely I crawled down next to them on the worn red carpet. In a vision, Yeats wrote, Byzantium, philosophical workers in mosaic and perfect human bodies. Eat what you want, when you want it, but you must be truly hungry. I read that in a Cosmo magazine when fat was a feminist issue, and you thought I was asleep that night you did the pinch test. You told me your vision of nothing we can do but live now, even knowing that the past, near, far future is simmering, boiling over our skins. I feel an incredible oil spill. We are thick with it. All those bowls and bowls of mercimek chorba, red-eyed in roadhouses and slices of lemon and Ataturk, framed after frame like Elvis. We were kidding ourselves that lentil soup was never vegetarian. At Fetier I made a Stonehenge of pebbles. Should I leave you on the shore or keep merging with your travel into thinness? You pinched my flesh, and it's no secret, Huffers wrote thousands on the walls of existence. Poetry puts language in a state of emergency, something like the emergency I felt in that roadhouse on the plains on the outskirts of Gurumere, where something was up with my cadence. I could not secure milk for my tea, and I can't get you straight, even in English. Run, love, run. We are an emergency, and I am out of my lacerated skin. You don't need me, really. You don't need me, really. Me on a rooftop in Gurumere, drinking homemade wine to stop my veins, and nay reverberates against the rock buildings piled up the valley to the horizon of us turning, an old sequence suggested by convention. Our language fell here. Why did we come here? Like rich in the desert, were we testing bombs? So like UN doctors, we'd have sex, in fact have nothing else left in the wake of emergency. I saw some bloody big rocks we could exchange for sex, like those penguins in the documentary. In the opacity of faces, we are effaced, and our throats hum with rising English. It broke us, like the rise of the West in its rising lost the precedence of dream. We have lost the precedence of dream. I thought of you loving me in a dark and biblical way, against all feminist principles, but diving into the wreck with Rich, the absurd flippers and grave mask just filled me with lesbian yearning. Borges's book is inscribed in blood. It cannot breach the skin, but my mouth is up against this microphone, and a vampire just arrived to take me flying. Well, I had to get a vampire in, didn't I? The fine line against eating your flesh, the dangerous space we recognise in wanting our sex and eating it too. I had a sudden salience on the surface of my psyche, or a poetic reverie, a dream anyway that wasn't somnolent, a memory of a vision of another, years before we'd met in a food line in a Sydney bistro with a vista over Greek cliffs. There's nothing mystical about this. Concaves of white stone and azure seas abound in frame makers' shops, and much goes on behind the riot shields of conscious thought. There's a girl inside your cake who wants to have sex and eat you too, and you thought it was all about you, your gift, your meals on wheels. De Beauvoir said it's easier to imagine getting dead than getting old. So here is a photograph of me aging. How I've raked and raked the lines, split whole sentences across the surface of my psyche. I find myself on South Bank, walking with a Sufi poet. I keep mentioning food. He won't take any food, not even a cup of tea, and me. After 5 hours, I'm lacerated by thirst, but he is right. We share the tea of conversation. The casino walls erupt into flame and gondolas slide past us on Birrarung Mar. I ask him, is it difficult to be in Australia, where poets don't address themselves in final couplets? A declaration of intent is evidence of real modesty in relation to the ideal relationship, or was that an ideal book, Deleuze said. Here I am on South Bank again, this time with a cinematic poet. No water has turned to wine and sausages fry on the barbecue. I breathe in and think maybe it's not so difficult to be in Australia as long as we don't speak like shrimps or Paul Hogan. Je t'aime moi non plus. Gainsbourg mixed his intentions and I get mixed up by you. You are a wild coming. I was a while coming, sitting on your hand, brimming, love, take my hand, brimming. Each time he speaks, it has the substance of myth, round symbols and soft edges, your mouth, soft sounds, you hiss. The women danced backwards off a Greek cliff, their faces to the enemy, and the Japanese women on an island in Son Soleil blew themselves up with hand grenades. I see no legions tearing up my backyard, so what's my enemy then? To fall face first into a lack of desire. Until now, I had no other word for future, not having recourse to the language of a Saudi pilot who, in starting up the engines, murmurs or does he shout, God willing. I've sent away men who fought to hold me still in the presence of now and being, the danger of becoming moribund, who stilled the water inside the vase. I broke it and lost the argument. I wanted to be waves, flow onward, not to move forward, in hack phrase, economic rationalist, intransitive, but the trance of us in lines of song, unfolding into rooms and rooms, till there's a crack we can open on Guattari and Deleuze. To improvise is to meld with the world. We venture forth on the thread of a tune. This is what's at stake. This sentence won't come out right and I can't paint it, but we are close in the guest room, giving up on words as sheets of steel advance to the piano. We gaze sideways out the window, on surreal and silent walls, spoons from the kitchen drawer, next door to a Holocaust museum, the warped tip of a rocket pine and the fractal shape of bare branches. Yeats, in a vision, said, "Come out of your eternity in the simplicity of fire, where all is music and rest, as long as we can hold our breath. This is the pause, the anxious space that we recognise. We almost did not make it to bed."